I need some pets.
Just what did you have in mind?
Rats. I'd like some rats. Rebecca.
Rebecca. Make sure you come hang out with Sam and I on Halloween night. 9 p.m. is going to be the start time of our special Halloween Drive-In Asylum presentation. And our subject is going to be Andy Milligan's The Rats Are Coming. The werewolves are here. And Mike Justice is here with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here, Mike.
So, sorry, I was muted. Nora says you should never fuck a guy who's been bitten by a rabid bat, but this movie told me otherwise. Like, I can kind of see the lure of fucking a guy who's been bitten by a rabid bat.
He changed her life.
Yeah. Well, he was kind of like, he wasn't very attractive at the beginning. I mean, he was cute. He was kind of cute in like a Greg Kinnear way where you were like, oh, yeah, I'd marry him. We can go skiing together or whatever. But he didn't show me anything really sexy until he got bitten by the bat.
He was a little goody two shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That was an interesting movie. That was more of what I thought. Like, I kind of had the movies inverted. Like, I kind of felt like the first movie that we watched, I would have felt like that would have been more like the Bat People. And then like the second movie is about, chosen survivors going into a cave, becoming Bat People. I don't know. It was an interesting double feature. Neither one of them was Nightwing, which I thought we were going to watch tonight.
We did not watch Nightwing. I went to see Nightwing when it was brand new theatrically after begging my grandma to take me to see it. And then I was like, why did we come see this movie?
Is it bad? I've only ever seen it on Terror in the Isles.
It's not bad. It's not a movie for a young kid who's like 9 years old. It was a lot of brooding shots of the desert, beautiful cinematography. And it got into like, I wanted a killer bat movie, but it got into a lot of Native American magic at one point. So it wasn't the movie that I expected as a kid. I went back and watched it years later. It's actually pretty good. I like it.
That's kind of like one of the movies that I always wanted to see from that era was Prophecy, and I wasn't able to see it during that time because for whatever reason my mom had it out for Prophecy.
Why?
Because she was a Reaganite at the time, and I think that she thought that Prophecy was like liberal propaganda or something, and so she was like, "Oh, I don't want you to watch that stupid movie where the stupid monster is like born of Native American religions or something." I don't know. It's like some weird thing. Like my mom hated Prophecy and she hated blood-sucking freaks in equal amounts.
Yeah, the Bat People isn't really a killer bat movie until the very end. That admittedly bravura finale where Michael Pataki gets swarmed by killer bats in the car after they kamikaze him.
That part I actually liked. I don't know, I kinda like the ending of the movie. I kinda thought it was romantic. You know?
Yeah.
I like the idea
Yeah.
that if your partner starts to go crazy and starts to, like, become alienated from you, that, like, if you can become crazy like them, you can join them in the afterlife, as it were.
This
It had a
movie has
very
a
happy ending.
strange this movie has a strange black box look to it for a lot of the scenes. Like the nightmare scenes all look like they were shot in a black box with just like, a couple props. And that weird deserted downtown area where he busts the window out and with the and steals the mannequin. That stuff is all so bizarre and very strangely photographed. There's something fascinating about it.
Do we know where was the Bat People filmed? Was it Colorado or California, Northern California somewhere or something?
I'm not sure. I guess we can look it up.
Because it kinda reminds me of what was that movie? Oh, The Boogans. Like, is it from the same town as The Boogans?
Oh, talk about shared universes.
Because
That would be a good one.
because when they were driving around town, I mean, I know all mountain towns look the same or whatever, but when I was looking at it, I was like, "Oh, this kinda reminds me of The Boogans." Like, it looks like the same at least the same general area, like, maybe the same state.
Yeah, kind of. I could see that. It was shot in the Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico,
Mm.
and the other locations are there was a ski area in Mammoth Lakes, California, for those ski lift and skiing scenes, I suppose. Bishop, California, and Mitchell Caverns in
Huh.
Providence Mountains State Recreation Area in California.
Bishop must be the town. I don't know much about, like, mountain towns in California. It's probably, like the whole eastern side of California has snowy mountain towns. So, it could be
Yeah.
anywhere from, like, Big Bear, where they shot, like, Grotesque, all the way up to, like, Lake Tahoe area somewhere, so
Yeah, I hear that the mountains in California are similar to the ones in Haddonfield. Like when
Alright.
Dr. Loomis makes the phone call at that phone booth, you can clearly see the mountains of Illinois.
Yeah, he's like, "It's your funeral." And he storms out and like and I didn't really get because I grew up in California, so I assumed that the whole world was California. And so I'd be like, "Sure, that's probably Haddonfield. Sure, like everything is California, right?" And then when I moved to Missouri in my adulthood, I was like, "Oh, wait. No, it's flat. There's no palm trees. No, everything's dead in November. You can't be walking home from school wearing a sweater and a mini
Yeah,
skirt, like, it was freezing,
it's
like,
just not like that.
if you were walking home from school on October 31st in the Midwest, you would be frostbitten and surrounded by dead
The
things,
other thing
like
that always jumped out at me was how there's that one scene where Linda and Laurie are walking down that corridor when you can see all those lockers on the outside of the building. And even as a kid, I was like, where would they have lockers like that other than California? You wouldn't put those out there.
yeah, that's a California school. Yeah, when I was growing up in California, I remember we would watch movies like, um, just, movies like 16 Candles and Breakfast Club, and I always really thought, like, going to high school in suburban Chicago was the way to go, and I hated my high school because it had outdoor lockers, and I'm like, "Oh, this feels like some crappy California high school. I really should be going to high school where, they make these awesome movies," but
Steve brings up the point, why is it called the Bat People? But Steve Wilson, for most of the movie, there's only one Bat person. But by the end of the movie, there are two Bat People. And the title, this is my interpretation of the Bat People. We're talking about trying to justify something as silly as the Bat People. The title refers to them. It's very specific. The title is a reference to our two leads, Stuart Morrison Marianne McAndrew.
Yeah, but is it though? I think that it's doing like Paul Dilliner said, it's kind of like a Night of the Bloody Apes thing, where it's just like we have to put an S on the end, or else audiences won't buy tickets.
Stuart Moss. I should correct myself. It's not Stuart Morris. He worked in a lot of TV. This was. Did you think this looked like a TV movie?
Yeah, it had a really good production values. Like, if not a lot of energy and talent behind the camera, at least a lot of competence. You know, like I earlier I said it gave me Larry Buchanan vibes. Like, no, like this was several steps above that. Like this was like an episode of The Incredible Hulk, like in terms of production values. Like this could have been a TV movie. I think like you were right. You said this was a programmer. Like this was obviously just produced just to kind of like what we see today with straight to streaming movies,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like it was just made to hold space, and it's very competently made. And the guy who did it, like, went on to make Airport 77, like we were talking about earlier. So apparently he must have, you know, impressed somebody, or else they wouldn't have gotten him that gig.
That was a pretty big deal. I mean, Airport 75 was a big hit.
Yeah. So I don't know how he got like Airport 77 right after the Bat People. It's not like the Bat People was this huge hit, but I think maybe he was just buying time, you know, like they already had he was already on their radar because he was already coming out of like UCLA or something, and they were like, "All right, go make this the Bat People, and then we'll talk about Airport 77 after that."
There are very strong Track of the Moon Beast vibes in the Bat People. I have to agree.
He said that earlier. I've never seen Track of the Moon Beast.
It's a classic. It's very similar to this. You know, there's a doomed couple, this is what's so compelling about the Bat People to me. It's not the bat attacks or even the bat makeup, which is very good, I think. Once you see it, you only glimpse it towards the end of the movie in the climax of the film. But I think it's really good. And of course, Stan Winston made it, so of course it's good. But I think I really think it works overall as an arc for their relationship. That's what the movie is about to me. The good stuff in them. This was a couple who were very happy together. They were so horny they wanted to go screw in caves because they thought it was a kick. You know, they were kinky. I like that about them.
Yeah,
Those two.
actually, the bat makeup looked like the bat in the ads for the first movie we watched for Chosen Survivors. You know, like it had that concave, like the nose in the middle with the spread out and stuff. And so it's like whoever did like Stan Winston is obviously a genius because he actually made that man's face look like a bat.
Yeah.
Not like what we would think of, you know, not like Night of the Bloody Apes, where it's like, what would a guy look like if he were an ape? Oh, he'd look like this.
Nothing.
Like this actually, like they actually tried to make him look like a bat, which was interesting. So oh, Nora and the child. Okay, so this is funny. Nora is so outspoken against the child that they're showing the child on Shudder every day. And every day I tune into Shudder and I see the child. And the very first thing is I think, oh, yeah, Nora hated that. Like her opinion of the child has replaced all other data about the child in my brain.
She's not big on the child.
No, but you know, she's not wrong because like I keep trying to watch it. I'm like, God damn, like, did anyone on this movie have a like know how to record sound or anything? Never mind.
No, it's no, they did not, Mike Justice. It was very amateur.
She hates the fucking child. She said, I hate that fucking movie. I wish she would have said, I hate the fucking child, because that just is more funny.
Paul mentions Blood of Dracula. That is on my Halloween mixtape as well. I love Blood of Dracula. That was so elusive to me because I was obsessed with vampires as a kid. And I saw pictures of this movie and I knew it was one of those teenage monster movies, the vampire one. So I had to see it. And it was just, they never showed that movie on TV, at least not when I was paying attention. I had to wait till home video.
And even more so after that, like I remember Flesh for Frankenstein being a lot more prevalent than you're talking about like the counterpart to Flesh for Frankenstein, right?
No, Blood of Dracula is the 50s I Was a Teenage Dracula movie.
What? Blood of Dracula?
Yeah. Have you seen I Was a Teenage Frankenstein or I Was a Teenage Werewolf? It
Yeah.
was in that same cycle. It should have
Oh
been called I Was a Teenage
wow.
Dracula, but
Oh, I thought you were talking about like that
the Paul Morrissey film.
yeah. No, okay. I've never heard of it or seen it.
Oh, wow. Vince, this is a tough call. Well, I would say The Child over either of those two movies, although they're both brilliant in their own way. I have no problem with any of those films on screen. But I have a soft spot for The Child.
I'd say Kathy's Curse and then The Child and then Demon Witch Child.
Yeah. Well, I would switch the first two, but Demon Witch Child is the least of those.
Demon Witch Child is very likable and fun on its own, but it's a slog to get through, and it's really just sound like just the dubbing sucks.
It's just okay. Like
Yeah.
it's not so over the top that you have to keep watching it. I've only seen it a couple of times.
Have you ever seen Night Child?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. The Cursed Medallion, aka
Yeah.
the Cursed Medallion.
Right. I only grew up reading about that. I've never actually seen it.
That's got Nicolette Elmy.
Nicoletta Elmy.
I'm not sure I got her first name right, but she from everything. She was in Who Saw Her Die.
Well, it was funny because she was always dubbed. So she was in like she was in Deep Red and she was dubbed. I think the only time that she ever used her actual voice in a movie was Barren Blood.
Yeah.
Because in
Is that really her?
Well, I think so, because she's like, I heard there was a baron and there is an amulet. And it's like, yeah, that's your voice, right? Because she was, she obviously couldn't really speak English very well. And even by the time she was in Demons, her voice was dubbed.
Yeah, I always forget because she was all grown up in Demons. She was that usher.
Yeah, she was like the slutty Elvira Usher, who you think is sort of in on the conspiracy at the beginning, but then she eventually ends up being like killed. So I don't know. Have you watched Demons on this show yet?
Yeah, we have done Demons on the show.
What did your audience have to say about that?
Everybody loves Demons. I don't know anybody that doesn't like Demons.
I didn't realize what a hilarious comedy Demons was until I started seeing it in theaters, like for Grindhouse festivals and stuff. Because when I was growing up and watching it on video, I was just kind of taking it seriously and just being like, "Oh, is this good or is this bad? I kind of like this." And then I watch it in a theater full of people and everybody's like laughing and like I'm like, "Oh, you're right. It is really funny." Like just the way they spell everything out. So like those screams sound real. No, it's the Dolby system. I'm telling you, they sound real. It's coming from behind the screen. Look at her back. Like Italians
keep
always
away.
yeah, keep away. Yeah, the funny thing about Italians is they always really want to do really kind of fun, subversive black comedy horror movies like Dawn of the Dead and Return of the Living Dead, but they never can get it right. They're always really off key with it, like they try, like like their idea of mimicking the cool aspects of Return of the Living Dead is just to have this random group of punks driving through downtown Berlin, like rocking out to a Go West song, and then one of them, like, you know,
Go
he's like,
West.
hey, yeah, and he's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna scrape cocaine off your boobs with a razor blade," and it's like, oh, come
Wasn't it
on,
White
you guys.
Wedding?
Well, they tried to use several songs, so they would always cut to them like driving through, and they'd like play a song on there.
It was their mixtape.
Yeah. I
That
don't know. I
weird
mean,
looking chick with the like big Cyndi Lauper hair.
yeah. And, like, I love Italian horror movies and everything, but like their idea of trying to replicate the the way that American movies are so groundbreaking in doing satire and like all that stuff. Like Italian movies are just, I mean, God bless them, but they're not there. So
Darren Kersey, I love How to Make a Monster. All those AIP teenage monster movies were just they were this hotbed of queer cinema parallels. It was all about creepy same-sex relationships. Like, I Was a Teenage Werewolf. It's Michael Landon and this creepy psychiatrist that he's seeing, who's like getting way too intimate with him. And in How to Make I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, there's a similar thing going on there. Like, the doctor talks about how he like sewed this whole body together, and his hands have been everywhere. And How to Make a Monster was way over the top with the gay subtext too. It was it was just like, you know how there were certain buzzwords in 50s movies that people were talking about communism and the Red Scare, but this was somehow like they channeled sexual anxiety into these movies.
what about Invasion of the Saucer Men?
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
How do you queer code that?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, if there's something going on there, I've never even thought of that. I
Wouldn't
can
that
make
be
a
funny
case
if,
for the
like,
teenage movies, but not that.
right? Yeah, I'd love for somebody to come along and try to deconstruct Invasion of the Saucer Men as being like a coming out thing.
Invasion of the Saucermen was remade as the Eye Creatures, which is one of my TV faves.
Is that a Larry Buchanan?
Yeah.
So he just sort of just remade a bunch of AIP movies and put them on TV, because I know he did the She Creature and stuff. And
Zontar Thing from Venus.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I never knew much about Larry Buchanan, except that there was this one Andy Milligan movie I always wanted to see, which was forever going to be mixed up with a Larry Buchanan movie, and I was always disappointed that I could never see that.
Vince, I forgot about those kids that are in the car and they're just so into each other they don't even notice anything's happening.
Did they ever get killed or anything? No,
No, I don't think so. I think they just missed the whole thing.
Right, and she was like smoking weed, and like, what did she tell him? She said, I can't remember. It's something funny. I think they ad-libbed most of their part.
So
Tell me,
Go
why
ahead.
did you guys pick Rats Are Coming, Werewolves Are Here?
You know, well, whenever we decide the movies, we have movies that people have requested and movies that we've been wanting to do for a long time. So we keep these titles like bouncing around. We always bring them up when we suggest movies for the following week, and then suddenly we'll just get something that we both are very excited about showing. And these two movies were pretty high up there. It's a shame Sam wasn't able to be on this show. But you know, there's so many movies, so little time. We'll get to them all eventually.
I kind of feel like when Kathy Lee Gifford was like on pregnancy leave, and so they had like these like fill-in people on Regis and Kathy Lee, like, and they even had like Dolly Parton come in and like co-host that show. So I totally get like how Dolly Parton felt right now. Like, yeah, you're Dolly Parton, but you're no Kathy Lee. So
Wow. I would say that that's reversed. Dolly Parton is greater than Kathy Lee.
well, no, but it was just in terms of the show.
I
Like they
know.
were having, yeah. Wait, you're saying I can't be Dolly Parton?
You can totally be Dolly Parton.
Okay, good. But yeah, anyway, yeah, it's just out of all the Andy Milligan, okay, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna pre-talk crap about Rats Are Coming. I like The Rats Are Coming. It's just that, like, man, like his filmography, there's so many more interesting movies.
No, that's not how I feel at all, Mike Justice. The Rats Are Coming, the Werewolves Are Here it's the lowest, it's even lower production values than Dark Shadows, but otherwise it's like Dark Shadows.
Oh, well, that's true.
It's all about drama among this group of monsters, which is the best of Milligan, like Blood, which is another fantastic Andy Milligan horror movies. I really like The Rats Are Coming, the Werewolves Are Here, especially since the plot is just so all over the place. Like there's, this weird subtext with the rats. Why is that in the movie? Well, for no reason.
Well, what's also fun about Rats Are Coming is that it's one of those hybrid American/British movies. Like he shot 60 minutes of it in Britain and then he came back here and they said it's not long enough. So there's all these scenes shot in England that are very authentically looking English with the English manner and all the English actors. And then all of a sudden it'll cut to these scenes that are shot on Staten Island against a brick wall because this brick wall is the only thing that he can find that's old enough in his neighborhood that could somehow look like it might be from England. And there'll be like some actress there's like, oh, I thought we were gonna be friends and play a game. And it's like, oh God, like this is amazing. So it cuts between America and England. like it's one of those. You're right. I am Heather Locklear on Melrose Place.
It's genius.
Yes. Well, didn't she was always the bad guy though.
Heather Locklear?
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? Being the bad guy is better when you're on TV. Like being the good guy, like nobody cares. So.
I don't think I remember seeing her in anything. I never watched anything with Heather Locklear in it.
You didn't see Melrose Place?
No, I never watched that.
Oh, okay. So Melrose Place was sort of like, it was basically Beverly Hills 90210, but it was like more adult, like everybody lived on their own and they were in this apartment complex in LA and they were all like, so they could, basically there was no parents around. And Heather Locklear was like this mean bitch who owned like a magazine or something, who employed them and was constantly like antagonizing them and like fucking with them. So yeah, that's all I remember. Maybe Darren can like remind us that there was more to it than that, but
she had that cheesecake poster that I would always see when I was looking through posters at Murphy Mart. They had them in one of those flip through things. You could look at all the posters.
Oh, right. Do you remember when? So I remember in the last days of video stores, I'd be going to the video store to like look at movies, and whenever I'd be in the new release section, and this must have been in like 2006, 2007, whatever. Heather Locklear was in some movie that was in the new release section. It was called Flirting with 40. And Heather Locklear, who was like 28 on TJ Hooker, was somehow still flirting with 40 in like 2006. I was like, no.
Wow.
Yeah, I always get really kind of annoyed when like people who are sort of faces of their generation will then turn around and like play people significantly younger. I feel like they're kind of like fucking over people that they came up with. It's like if you are representative of a generation and you should really try to make that generation look good on screen and be like, hey, we can still be movie stars. We can still be beautiful, even though we're 46, instead of telling your fans like, hey, guess what? I got Botox and I'm going to play a 36-year-old in a movie and, fuck you because you're not a movie star. I am. Bye. Like, I don't
Ouch.
know. Well, it's just like when, like, Tom Cruise played a 30-year-old in Vanilla Sky, and it's like, we know what you were like when you were 30. You were in the firm. Like, just say you're 40 and make other 40-year-old people who like grew up along with you like feel cool. Don't abandon them. Or like what's her name in the Fan? Why am I blanking on her name? You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, Lauren Bacall?
Lauren Bacall in The Fan. She's like 60 years old, right? She could totally make 60-year-olds look cool by being in The Fan and like representing 60-year-olds. But she's like, no, I'm 50 and I'm in a musical. And it's like, no, you're not 50. You're 60. Like, stop it.
You were always the shop girl that fought her way to the top, made a great success. Well, you're not a little shop girl anymore.
Is that from How to Marry a Millionaire?
The truth is, you're getting old. No, that's Mommy Dearest.
Right.
The night
Mommy
Uncle
Dearest.
Greg left. That's part of the conversation. That movie is just sheer genius.
So, yeah, the director of Mommy Dearest went on to make Hello Again with Shelley Long. That's my favorite of his movies, I think.
Really? Not Mommy Dearest.
Yeah, Mommy Dearest is bleak and kind of grim. I mean, I get like how fun it is to watch her like be a crazy bitch and stuff, but like it's kind of depressing. Like when you think about it, like Mommy Dearest, like she's blindsided to her own faults and completely unwilling and unable to take personal responsibility or accountability for anything she does, and her daughter is just a victim. So like where's the moral center of this movie? We're just basically watching this crazy bitch abuse this kid and get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, there is obviously there's an exploitative element to that, but also, I think the whole point of Mommy Dearest, people misread that. They always talk about, oh, Christina, she's like, a bitch, and she's this and that. She may be, but she's still, I think she's still being honest about her relationship with Joan, and she told her side of the story. And Joan was somebody that, she had such a false public image, and this she had created this persona that seemed so authentic to everybody. They believed in her. They wanted her to be this person that she portrayed in public, and whenever she spoke on camera, they wanted her to be that way, and she wasn't. She was deeply flawed, and nobody would believe that she had done these things to Christina, but she did. So
and
that
also
was,
they didn't really like take child abuse seriously. They were like,
no.
oh, she's strict. Yeah, like the thing, yeah, I don't know. It's the kind of people who still defend, like the queens who defend Joan Crawford, like not knowing Joan Crawford, not knowing Christina, they don't know either one of them, and they'll just be like, Christina was lying, like because they're so unwilling to acknowledge the fact that maybe they're like, narcissist goddess, like might have mistreated people that she would. Those are the.
Can't you just be honest about it? Like,
yeah, but it's like, no, it's really a form of Stockholm syndrome, because the kind of gay men I know who would like defend Joan Crawford are the same types who would say things like, yeah, my parents abused me, but you know what? I was a brat and I deserved it. It's like they're always just kind of like, so I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying. Like you hate yourself and you blame, and you're going to side with the monster in the movie instead of like the victim, but whatever. Because Mommy Dearest isn't a perfect movie. I mean, like Christina Crawford even said, she wrote the book about her own experiences, and they made the movie a starring vehicle for somebody to play her mother. when the whole thing was about what a monster and an awful person her mother was, and about how
Yeah.
she like overcame that. And they're like, okay, we like what you wrote about her, but what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a starring vehicle about how charismatic and goddess like your mother was. And then you'll just be this person who she beats with a cone hanger, and then that'll turn into like this campy thing that people like, quote at movie screenings, but whatever.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately, I don't think she meant for it to go that way, but it did.
right. Oh well. Yeah.
Unpredictable.
Yeah, I
Just
don't
like,
know, but
like you could be on a honeymoon and researching bats, and all of a sudden you get bitten by a bat and you're a bat person. What do you do?
I don't know. I mean, I would totally be in a bad relationship with somebody.
It's not too much to ask.
No, yeah. I mean, I would, it's kind of like I would hate, like, I understand how she felt during the movie because her partner was starting to like become a bat without her, and she was like, "Oh, what's going
Yeah.
on? Oh, why are you yelling at me in the hospital? Oh no, the town sheriff is after you. Should I believe him?" And then
He
she
was
decides she's going to become a bat herself or whatever, and then it's like it's perfect.
Her husband was stepping out on her. These were like strange intimate encounters he was having with strange women. They were ending
Mhm.
up dead, but that's
Right.
beside the point. He was like compulsively pursuing these other women, and she was like,
Right.
well, if I could become like him, maybe it wouldn't be so bad.
She's like, "Don't think because I'm your wife that I have anything against you killing these women. I will kill them with you if you want to make me part of your bat life." And yeah, I guess that's what happened. Now, did she get bit or something? Did I miss that part? Did she
No,
what prompted her to become a bat person at the
well,
end?
she didn't get bit, she got made love to. So,
But
you know,
wasn't she fucking him the whole time? I mean, ostensibly, they were married.
right, but he had sex with her while he was transformed, because she
Oh.
looked up and she saw him for the
Oh,
first
yeah, yeah,
time.
that's right. Yeah. That's the part where he was like he was spending like 15 minutes like turning into a bat on top of her with his that same repeated shot of his bleeding eyeball. But they
Yeah.
kept cutting to shots on her on the bottom going like like there was something going on there. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'd like to see a sequel to that. Like maybe you know, what do you think they'd be up to now? They'd be living in like an HOA complex in Arizona or Florida.
It could turn into something like "Don't Go Near the Park." There would be this area where people have been disappearing for years, and it's the bat people that are doing it, but only these runaway children know who the bat people are.
It was funny when I worked with Linnea Quigley. I asked her, like, I was like, "What's one of the worst movies you ever worked on?" And she said, "Don't Go Near the Park."
She's
She's
not
like,
lying.
she was like, "I was in this movie when I was really young, and like, I remember it took like a couple days to shoot, and like, they forgot to pay me, and like, I think, and it was basically Don't Go Near the Park." Oh my God, remember when she came into our chat?
Yes, I was just going to mention that. That was amazing.
I know. I'm like, every time I'm afraid to, quote her or talk shit about her because all of a sudden she'll just show up and be like, my ears are ringing.
She could at any given moment. She was talking to us about the Black Room briefly.
Oh, right.
Um, she said her internet was bad, so she signed off pretty quick. But
Yeah, she's like, I'm buffering. I have to go. No, that was perfect. She just sort of like swinged in. It was,
yeah, it was
yeah,
really nice of her.
that was fun. I want more stuff like that. Can we get like who else do you want? Who's your if you could get like some celebrity guests, like realistic celebrity guests, like you can't get like I don't know who's, you
Who
can't
would
get
be
Jennifer.
nobody I would want would be that high profile.
Right, exactly. Who would you want in here?
Um, well, at one time I would have said Rosie Waters, but I think Rosie Holitik, now her name's Rosie Waters. I'd love to have her. I'd love to have Camilla Carr. Camilla's still out there. She lives in Texas, I believe. and also maybe Lynn Lowry.
Lynn Lowry, has she ever gotten back to you or anything?
No, she never got back to me. But in all honesty, I never reached out again, and she
Oh,
may just not have seen the Facebook message that I sent.
okay, because she's,
Or I sent her
oh,
an email. You gave me her email address.
yeah.
So maybe she didn't
She's,
see it.
I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine her passing up an opportunity to, for lack of a more, I mean, I'm just going to say this, to whore herself, like she's very much into like promoting
We don't have a
herself and
problem
talk.
with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's not one of those people who's like, oh, I have this other thing going on. I'm doing pottery or whatever. She's like, no, I've done horror movies. I worked with Cronenberg. I worked with Romero. Like, I want to talk about myself. Like, I'm an actress. Like, she's totally like down with that. So yeah, we got to get her on the show. She wants money though. She's always, I mean, not that money is like, something that we have to like look down on people like, oh, she wants money. It's like, well, how else do you expect her to pay her bills? Like she's not working at Tower Records on the side, but
I get
maybe
it.
like you
Yeah.
should catch it and you catch her after she scored like a really big, like go online. And when she said like, oh, I just booked this role where they're paying me like $30,000, then just be like, yo, drive-in asylum.
How about now?
Yeah, how about now? I'm like, you seem to be taken care of for the next couple months. How about doing a freebie? Yeah.
So we're 7 strong, Nora. Damn right.
We only have 7 people left?
Well, I'm showing 9. So there might be a couple people watching on YouTube that aren't showing up in the Facebook chat.
Oh, that's good. Nobody's commented on my. Oh, well. Oh, yeah. Some people liked it. Oh, well. So so we're going to be watching The Rats Are Coming, The Werewolves Are Here for Halloween.
Yeah, that's going to be Monday at 9 p.m.
Okay. All right. Because that's a school night.
I know.
Yeah. But I could stay up for that.
Well, the movie's only a little over an hour long. So there's that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That sounds fun. I will do that with you guys. I won't be drinking though. I don't drink on weekdays anymore. This is what happens when you get old. Like for me, Fridays and Saturdays are like the crazy time because during the week, like if I do so much as not have enough water during the day, I'll wake up in the morning and feel like shit.
Mateo's watching on YouTube. Thank you. It's coming up. The icon shows Facebook. So maybe you're just commenting on Facebook and watching it on YouTube. Or maybe the icon is screwy. Maybe that's why it seems like no one's looking. Because the icons are wrong.
Mateo's profile picture is very intriguing. Is it somebody licking money? Or a stack of cards?
I can't see it's too small on my screen.
No, okay.
I'm sure it would make sense if we could enlarge it and see it. Mateo, we're fascinated by your avatar.
Right.
Oh wait, did you? I took it away. Okay, are you looking now?
So it looks like a Native American man wearing sunglasses licking a deck of cards.
Could that be? Is that you, Mateo?
It looks like the guy
Marilyn Manson licking money.
Cher licking into his deck of cash.
Right on.
Is Marilyn Manson licking money?
I think it's Mateo dressed as Marilyn Manson licking money.
Oh, good. Okay. I was like, I do not want to find out that I was like intrigued by something Marilyn Manson did. I'd rather hear that it was something Mateo Corona did.
I really dug Marilyn Manson. Like for the first 3 albums, Marilyn Manson was fucking great. And then all of a sudden it just like they started doing the same album over and over again. I'm like, okay, they checked out.
Yeah, I remember I didn't really pay much attention to Marilyn Manson, except I got a job at Tower Records right when Mechanical Animals came out,
Yeah.
and it was like Mechanical Animals, Moon Safari by Air, and that album. I'm gonna blank on her name now because I'm an asshole, but you know the girl from Sister Act 2 who
Yeah.
was anyway, it was this great period there of music for a second. And I remember like the Dope Show and thinking that like seemed really cool, but it was kind of like it was a little too late, I feel like, as far as Marilyn Manson fans were concerned. I think by that point he had gone top 40 and was just regurgitating crap that people wanted to hear.
It was like, it was exciting. I saw the Antichrist Superstar tour, and that was still, there was like a candlelight vigil out front. There were people praying out in front of the concert, and I was like, this is where you should be, seeing whatever show they don't want you to see, to go in there. And it seemed like something really illicit. It was just a
Yeah.
rock show. It was like
Right.
many other rock shows I had seen, but it was good. I really
I
dug it.
remember I remember the drugstore in the town where I grew up had a album section, and I remember seeing like when I was a child, seeing Poison, like the album,
Yeah.
and being like, oh my goodness, like that's the devil. Like you get
Poison.
really caught up in that stuff. So I can totally see like how like people would think like Marilyn Manson was so edgy and so interesting, because like
Yeah.
I thought that, if I listened to Lizzie Borden or Halloween, that, like the roof was gonna cave in on me or something.
That's where he was coming from, like he grew up like that too, that there were bands that were so scary that your parents didn't want you to listen to them, and that's what he wanted to do. Obviously, he
Yeah.
did it. But we all know how that story ends. It's kind of gross.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember my mom didn't want me to listen to Madonna. She said Madonna was a whore who wore her underpants on the outside of her clothes, and who thought that she was being classy by wearing a top
Or
hat to her wedding and like she just had all these opinions. She's like, "Oh, Madonna, when she married Sean Penn, she wore like this big black belt around her dress, and she had bleach blonde hair, and all this stuff." And then like years later, my mom like sat me down and like tried to lecture me about why I should buy the album Ray of Light. She's like, well, she's a singer songwriter and she's doing some acoustic things. And I'm just like, just stop.
now she's growing as an artist. She's
Yeah.
spiritual now.
Right. It was just like, yeah, I
It's the
don't know.
new Like a Prayer.
Yeah. But meanwhile, when I liked Like a Prayer, it was just like, pop clips crap on TV and stuff.
I was
Cat
never
rapes
a big
dog.
Madonna fan. I was never a huge fan. I only like a couple of her songs, but I always thought she was overrated. It's like to an obscene degree.
I
Whereas
like
like
90s Madonna.
I feel like there's a price on my head now that I even said that.
Well, so I worked in this gay bar and we had like it was a video bar where we would just play videos all day. And like whenever I was the bartender, I would always play 90s Madonna because I really liked like erotica and Bad Girl and Rain and Ray of Light and the song she did from the baseball movie about the chicks who play baseball, like
This used to be my playground.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know why I'm like, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I like 90s Madonna. Like when Madonna was like, I don't know, in her 30s or whatever. Like that part I really like. I still like 80s Madonna, like Who's That Girl and stuff, but like you, I kind of feel like it's overrated. Like I'm not like at the time I see why it was important, but it's not like if somebody starts playing Holiday on a jukebox, I'm just gonna jump out of my skin and like freak out and have to like groove to it right then and there, so
Yeah, see, David and I are so copacetic here. The first Madonna album is so good. I really do dig that album. And after that, like I'm not saying she did crap for the rest of her career. It's just, I liked that about her, like how basic that first album is.
do you
It's
like
really
Who's That Girl, the movie?
No, I didn't. I mean, now I kind of like it a little more than I did the first time I saw it, but
It's
um,
like a Looney Tunes cartoon. Like, I didn't really realize until I grew up and realized that, like, Madonna was playing Bugs Bunny, that, like, I really got it. Because at the time, well, when I was a kid, I loved it, of course, because kids, it's a kids movie, and my parents and everybody else I knew was talking about what a disgraceful embarrassment it was, and I was like, "What are you talking about? It's hilarious." So, it's basically a Bugs Bunny cartoon. She's Bugs Bunny. The cat, the giant she has a giant cougar as a pet who she just met 5 minutes before, and then they immediately bond. She has, like, this really hot, like, nerdy Jew boyfriend who, like, gradually unbuttons his shirt the more he gets to know her. Like, you can't go wrong with Who's That Girl?
I'm a
But it
body
is
of
to
evidence kind of guy.
Oh god, body of evidence. I fucked you, I fucked Andrew, I fucked Frank. That's what I do. I fuck. Yeah.
I'm a I'm a certain sacrifice kind of guy.
Nobody's a certain sacrifice kind of guy. You can't relate to that movie. It is the shittiest cinematography, the shittiest sound. There's nothing. The only thing I like about that movie is that you can see um, the House of Psychotic Women and Nurse Sherry playing on a marquee, like out of the corner of a limo window while they're driving through like 42nd Street. But yeah, I don't know. Do
We,
you really like Body of Evidence?
mm-hmm. I went to see it at the theater with my friend who was obsessed with Madonna, and usually I hated anything she did, like especially just to annoy him. I'd be like, "Oh, she sucks." But I went to see that, and I was really into it the whole time. And afterwards, I was like, "That was a really good movie. I'm glad I saw that."
People still hear like people will still talk about it. So I was doing this top 10 of my favorite sexy thrillers from the 90s, and I put Body of Evidence as number 10. And out of all the movies that I listed on my list, Body of Evidence was the one that got the most attention from people I know here in Portland, and they all had the same story. They were like, "Yeah, that was a big deal when she came here." Like, basically she was, like, Madonna came to Port, and it's kind of funny because in Body of Evidence, see, so a lot of movies that were shot in Portland will, or other places, they won't say it's Portland. They'll just say it's an American city so that they can mess around with geography and do things like where they say this bridge is over here and this is over here. The thing in Body of Evidence is they say it's Portland, but they still fuck around with geography so much. So they very clearly mentioned that it's in Portland, Oregon, yet her boyfriend's house is this national landmark that's actually a museum. But they are just like, oh, that would look cool for her house. And like, and her her boat that she lives in is a seafood restaurant that's like, so it's like it's Portland, but it's like this weird alternate universe Portland where she lives in a seafood restaurant and her boyfriend lives in a museum. So, and
It's an
so,
overlooked gem.
right, and Julianne Moore manages what, a bistro downtown, and and she just manages it because she doesn't want to hire a manager because she doesn't trust them not to steal from her. Color of Night. Yes. What do you think
Well,
of Color of Night?
oh, I like it. I like Color of Night with
Yeah.
what may or may not be Bruce Willis's dong.
I mean, it's so silly. Like, I expected when they were talking about seeing Bruce Willis's dick in Color of Night, I imagined that it would be something along the lines of seeing like Richard Gere's dick in American Gigolo. Like, I thought we might get like him standing in a half shadow for like 30 seconds delivering a monologue with his dick hanging out. And it turned out all you saw was like, a brief glimpse of a limp dick flopping around in a pool while he's like positioned 75 degrees away from the camera, and you don't even see his face.
It was like below the water. So it was
It's
just
like that was the
on the
stunt
waist.
man's dick or whatever.
A stunt dick, yeah.
Yeah. And Jade was fun. I
I've
like the
never
car
seen
chasing.
Jade.
Jade
Didn't Paul
is
Verhoeven write that?
no, Joe Esterhaus.
Joe, that's who I meant.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the third segment. Joe
Yeah. Oh
Esterhaus.
yeah,
Thank
the
you.
drunken third segment. Yeah, Jade is fun. Jade is when Jade came out at a really funny time because it was like I remember Jade came out and Strange Days came out, that Catherine Bigelow movie with Ralph Fiennes and Angela Bassett that was set in the future, and Showgirls, and they were all talking about how these movies were going to be duking it out for the box office, and then like they all flopped. Like at once, and it was like, oh, I guess the era of the erotic thriller is over. So
Madonna found out the hard way.
Madonna is fucking watched a trailer. I don't even think Madonna saw Basic Instinct. I think Madonna saw a trailer for Basic Instinct, and she told her manager, like, that looks good. Get me one of those. I want one of those sexy thrillers that makes me a star. And like, yeah, I mean, I don't think like Sharon Stone is that amazing of an actress, but man, she leaves the Madonna in the dust as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, that's one thing she never really did all that great was her acting career.
I do like Sharon Stone's like sort of trashy Pennsylvania accent that she has. My friend does this great monologue. I can't do it.
Doesn't sound like an accent to me.
Well, he does this funny like thing in his show where he does like if Sharon Stone was playing Meryl Streep in Sophie's Choice. And so he's doing like Sophie's Choice's monologue about like carrying ham between her legs and like all this stuff, but he's doing it as Sharon Stone. So he's like, so I take from between my legs the ham, and it's like, and then you can really sort of like hear the Pennsylvania accent.
What can we say? It's so hard to erase it. Why bother?
Misty Monday. The only thing I know about Misty Monday is that she was in a bunch of like remakes of Nick, the guy who made Criminally Insane. He had done a bunch of sexploitation. Nick Millard, yeah, he had done a bunch of sexploitation movies in the '60s, and like Misty Monday starred in like some remakes of them in the video era, like 2000, 2004. And Sliver, of course. Such a good
Sliver,
movie.
oh my god, that never has a movie just totally baffled me like Sliver did. I was opening night in the theater and was like, wow, what did I just see?
I know. It sucked too because she was coming off of Basic Instinct. It was the first time that she could really open a movie, and Sliver sucked. She was so boring in that. She was like so frigid and annoying. Did you see the original ending where they drove the helicopter into the volcano?
No. By the time it got to us, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I thought I saw it opening night.
No, okay. So the original, it's on YouTube. So the original ending, they even make mention of it during the movie. Like at one point, Billy Baldwin is like, I'd really love to fly a plane into a volcano. And then they just forget that plot point. But what had happened was in the original is that he and Sharon Stone at the end of the movie, because it turns out that Tom Berenger is the killer and she shoots him or something. And then to get over the trauma of what had happened, they go to Hawaii and they're flying this helicopter around a volcano. and he sort of intimates to her, he's like, hey, like, I'm actually the killer and I killed all those people. And she like looks over at him and gives him this weird look, and she reaches over and she like unlatches his seatbelt that's holding him into his seat, and then she's like, I know, and I think we should fly into this volcano. And then she like unbuckles her seatbelt, and then they both like fly into this volcano together, ostensibly, I guess, to like burn up or die or whatever. It's to sort of show that like she's bought into like his weird voyeuristic, murderistic tendencies. And like now she's like his ride or die partner in crime. And like they are going to like be like taking risks and stuff. And it was actually probably it's actually a really more interesting ending than the one they did. But for whatever reasons, test audiences were like, we don't like it. And then they're like, oh, well, we must, redo it. And
the whole ending of the movie. I mean, that's such a compromise.
Well, the thing is that at the time, Sharon Stone was known for being like this cold-blooded bitch who had like, been in Basic Instinct and stuff. And it would have been such a cool ending for Sliver after watching her play this like frigid, oppressed victim for the whole thing, to show her actually like, it's not exactly like her coming into her own, but it's like her like becoming a different character at the end. Like that would have been interesting. But they're like, no, you know what we think would actually be cooler is like, why don't we just have you shoot his TVs and then tell him to get a life? Like that'll really make audiences swoon.
Like, I don't know how anyone thought that would be the way to go.
Because she anticipated the internet. Yeah, well, did she though?
Don't take that away from Sharon Stone.
Sharon Stone. I was such a huge fan of hers in the 90s, and I was always waiting for her to like do something as cool as Basic Instinct. And like every movie she did was just worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then finally I just gave up. Just like, all right, fine. Whatever.
Law and Order awaited her.
Yeah. She's been good in other stuff and everything, but
what
I was
about
just
Casino?
Like, oh no, Casino was amazing. It's just like Basic Instinct and Casino. But like Sliver sucked, like The Specialists wasn't that great. Like the Sam Raimi Western that she did, I loved, but nobody else did. Diabolique, I loved, but nobody else did. Like,
it was okay. I saw that. I thought it was all right.
And Diabolique is really stupid, and is not worthy of mainstream approval or box office appeal. Like it's terrible, but I think it's fun.
Again, that only makes me want to see it more. What do you think of Basic Instinct 2?
Oh God, no. Basic Instinct 2 is so random. So for whatever reason, the first one took place in San Francisco. For whatever reason, the second one takes place in London. I think for no other reason than they just figure somebody as obscenely wealthy as Catherine Trammell would have nowhere else to go but London, because London is only obscenely wealthy people. And then she's there and she's like the crypt keeper. Like they magnify her bon mots, her little like sassy one-liners. Like they magnify them to 100%. So like she basically doesn't say any line of dialogue in Basic Instinct 2 that isn't some sassy, caustic crypt keeper one-liner. Like they're like, are you sad that he's dead? Yeah. I might never come again. It's like, just stop. Like, you're not even a character anymore with your frosted ass lips. I don't know.
It's fascinating because that's a movie that nobody wanted to make, but it only got made because she had a pay or play deal in her contract where somebody at some point negotiated her this. It was like $10 million, I think, or more.
Yeah, and she couldn't, and there was like at one point they really wanted to get David Cronenberg to make it. And he was actually interested, but they wouldn't let him bring in any of his creative team. They just wanted him to come on and just be this like delegator of direction while everybody else who was working for the studio was going to be doing all the work. And he's like, well, I have these like DPs and production designers I like to work with that are part of my like, creative, thing. And they're like, what? oh, we don't know. Yeah, no, we can't deal with that. And it's like, well, then don't ask David Cronenberg to make your
Yeah.
movie.
Why would you
Yeah.
even do that?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's not some hack. I mean, he could be a hack, but get him, he could, I mean, we've seen The Dead Zone, but he's like, he could be a hack in his own like cool hack way, So they ended up getting Michael Keaton Jones, I think his name is, who made Rob Roy to do Basic Instinct 2. And he's not a bad director, but he's no Paul Verhoeven or anything. Like it's kind of a cold, boring movie. And the lead is not sexy, the main guy.
No, that was a big problem.
And it's really fun to have Charlotte Rampling in that. I mean, it was so much fun to see like her on a fucking multiplex screen, for the first time since Stardust Memories or something, but like Orca, yeah, right. I mean, all of a sudden she's like, but much like Orca, it was just kind of wasted because it was just like this sort of bad movie that sort of like exited theaters like a couple of weeks after it started, and it was just kind of like, oh well, that was fun. Okay, I guess I'll see you again in that French dudes movies that only play like at the art house.
You got to look hard for Charlotte Rampling.
I know Charlotte Rampling is in. So I'm doing a top 10 list of my favorite horror movies from childhood, and she's in number 2.
Which is?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you Charlotte Rampling. But I had to, actually, I couldn't post today because I was promoting this show. So I have to do number 3 and number 2 tomorrow, and then do number 1 on Halloween. So you'll find out tomorrow.
Right on. Well, we're certainly glad that you did the show tonight. It was awesome hanging out with you and watching these Bat films. Bat
These were
movie.
Fun.
It's the Bat movie review.
I liked them both. Actually, I don't even know. Like, I kind of feel like it was a tie. They're both so different.
Really?
And they're both so appealing in totally different ways. Like I love the like Logan's Run sort of like 70s future kind of thing of the first one, but I love the sort of TV movie like AIP kind of soap opera-ishness of the second one. Like they're apples and oranges and both really good, and they both have bats in them. So that was an interesting double feature.
It's Halloween, so you have to do some bats, right?
You have to do some bats, but unlike just doing like 2 movies where bats are just attacking people, you picked 2 bat movies that are really different, but joined by the fact that bats are featured so prominently in their artwork and their ad artwork that in your mind you would just think of them as bat movies, but they're entirely like different types of movies. So this was really interesting. I really like this show. Thank you for having me on it, because not that I didn't like the other shows of yours that I was on, but this one was particularly interesting.
Well, I'll take what I can get. If that's the way it is, then that's the way it is. No, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with us too tonight. There's still 10 people in the chat, so that's pretty amazing. You guys like to stay up late.
Bye, Chris. He said, well, it's not as late. Like, for instance, it's only 11:54 where I am. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. God, it's almost 3 a.m. here. So this is the end.
Right.
But thanks once again. And if you're around Monday night, 9 p.m., hang out with me and Sam and watch an Andy Milligan movie. The rats are coming. The werewolves are here. If not, we'll see you next time on the Drive-In Asylum double feature. Good night.
Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardians. 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.